Welcome to our live lecture after our first PN2 exam. And I know your brains are probably taxed, and so this is going to be a shorter presentation. For some of you who were in my clinical earlier this week, you may be hearing things for the second time, but I decided to go ahead and continue doing it because I wanted the entire class to be able to hear what I had to say about chest tubes, and also to reinforce those of you who were in my clinical group and got to hear it. So I'm going to share my screen to get started. All right, can somebody let me know if you can see my screen okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're studying in Module 3, the respiratory system, and I expect that many of you have not dove into the resources yet. You've been focusing on reinforcing your understanding of Modules 1 and 2 for the exam. So make sure that you listen to the recorded lecture. This is not a new thing with being online. It was common in our face-to-face classes for students to delay exploring this module until after they were done with their exam. So knowing that, the recorded lecture has a lot of depth to it for you. And then we'll do a little lighter coverage during the live lecture today. So if I can get it to move for me, there we go. So I like to start with announcements. There's always quite a few. So I will get your exam scores results released as soon as I can. It does take some time to review the exam and also to review all the flagged items in Respondus. I have to look at every single one, and then also your recording your environment to make sure that we are maintaining the integrity of our exams and the testing environment. But when they are released, you'll receive an email from me that lets you know that the results are out there, and included in that email will be some information on how you can set up a time to meet with me if you would like to. I offer extended office hours the week after an exam, and so and I'll have a link. I use Sign Up Genius so that people, and you were able to use that also when you did your dose calculation reviews with me. So it's the same process, a different link. So don't use the link from the dose calculation. Each exam has its own link, and you'll be able to set up a time with me. I do ask that if you have to change your time, that you go into Sign Up Genius and cancel the one that you are not going to be able to attend, so it can be opened up for others. Sometimes these schedules can get pretty full, lots of students wanting to meet with me, so please be considerate of your peers. I also want to let you know that I am required to send an academic success plan, which is an ASP, to any student who scores below a 78% on the exam. So if you do receive one, please review it and indicate your plan for improvement, sign it, and then email it back to me by class time next week. I also want to let you know I'm changing the office hours. I actually had an opportunity, Laura Weeder and I got together and made masks on Saturday, and it was a lot of fun. And I learned that her lecture time is during my office hours. And so that would only leave some of you an hour to meet with me if you needed to during my open office hours. So I did extend those. I'm still leaving them open at 9 o'clock for students who are available at 9 o'clock, but I'm going to extend them until noon, and then, of course, by appointment as needed. Just a quick announcement about your course project. You're going to be working over the next week and a half on your references. Make sure that there are 3 references. They need to be journal articles. So they can't be a website or anything like that, blogs, things like that. They have to be peer-reviewed journal articles that are a research article that have been published within the last 3 years. And I do check for that. So we're in 2020. So if it's before 2017, I don't accept it as one of the 3. Now, you can have additional sources that can be a little older than that. I wouldn't go much over 5 or 6 years older because that won't be the most current evidence. And then you can have other sources as well, including reputable websites and other sources. But you have to have 3 that are peer-reviewed journal articles within the last 3 years to meet that criteria, and have to use them as well in when you write your paper. So just because you put them on this page, when you go to do your paper, you could have points taken off if you didn't use them as your sources. Now you could change them. Maybe you got into it and realized that that source maybe wasn't as valuable as you thought it was, but you found another one that meets the criteria. So if you need clarification on that, just reach out to me. And for ATI, just a reminder, you need to have a score of 90% or greater on everything except your practice A and practice B and your proctored. So an 85 is what's it's in Blackboard. I'm not allowed to change that, but our standard at Rockford has always been 90%, and we have helped students achieve good outcomes with that. So we are sticking with that. Also speaking about ATI, if you would please email me if you achieved a level 2 on your pharmacology proctored exam during your pharmacology course. Rasmussen has some changes for those students who have already achieved that level 2. So rather than take the entire class time and confuse people, if you achieved a level 2, please let me know that, and I will work with you on the opportunity that Rasmussen's offering related to that. All right, supplemental course documents. If you haven't explored those, please do. There's lots in there to help support you. And then just one last reminder about discussion posts. Remember that they are due by midnight on Tuesday. If you submitted on Wednesday, they're not accepted, or at 4 in the morning, they won't be accepted Wednesday morning. Make sure you're looking at the comments from Dawn after everyone has posted their discussion. I put a little comment out there that can maybe bridge some gaps in maybe your understanding or what you discovered as you prepared your discussion. So, and some of that information is sometimes on future exams. So please do take a look at those. Questions about that before I move on?
I have one quick question.
Yes.
In the calendar, it shows that the retake for the Farm A practice test is next week, but I noticed in your announcements you said to turn it in with your remediation.
You know what? Let me just verify that. I don't want to take the time to look at it while I'm doing this recording for everybody, but let me.
And it's also in week 4, but I just noticed you said, so then I was like, oh.
Okay, let me take a look and be looking. I will send out a communication with the frequently asked questions tomorrow that will have that clarification in there for you. Actually, I'll probably send that one separate and sooner, because if it's due this week, I want to give you guys tomorrow, the rest of today and tomorrow to get it. So when I get done with our lecture, I'll look that one up and then send that communication out to clarify. I don't want to wait on that one. So thank you for making me aware of that. I appreciate my QC people, and I will get that updated as soon as I can. So thank you. Anything else? Okay. So the next thing I want to draw your attention to is a chart in your textbook that's 30-7, and this is on how to teach a client to use an inhaler. We're not going to spend our time together going over that because it's very clear in there, but I do want to draw your attention to that. So please spend some time in that as you're looking through the resources for this week. I want to spend a little bit of time here talking about chest tubes. And so there's 3 different kinds of chest tubes that are out there right now. One of them, they're hardly using it all. And then another one I have not seen in our area when we've been working with chest tubes, but I do want to draw your attention to it. So this is the old school. This is what I learned when I became a nurse 20 years ago, and what we were using with our patients. And so this is a wet suction and a wet seal. And I just want to point out the different chambers here so you have an idea of what each of these chambers does. This B letter here, this is the collection chamber where drainage that comes from the pleural cavity drains into this and helps us to keep track of how much output a patient has, so we know that they're improving, or if they have a change of condition and they're getting worse. And it also allows us to actually assess that drainage, looking at it for its color and consistency and that kind of thing. So that it collects in here, and it starts over here on the right, and this section will fill up, and then it'll start overflowing into the next, and it'll just keep going until this is full. And once it's full, you have to put a new collection device together for that patient. This red section here, this is the water seal chamber. And this little marking is the 2 centimeter marking. There's a little dashed line here. And so that is filled with water. And that needs to be always have 2 centimeters of water in it. So if it does happen to evaporate over time, make sure you're adding more sterile water to it to keep it at that level. Now, this is like the old school mason jar that they used to use, where they would take, when they would use chest tubes, they'd insert it into the patient and then stick the end into a mason jar, a glass jar of some kind that had boiled water in it. And so this actually this allows air to escape from the pleural cavity, and you'll see tiny little bubbles once in a while that'll come in here and escape, but it doesn't allow any air to get back into the pleural cavity. So this is the one that really does the work of allowing that air to escape. And you might see some fluctuations in this. They call it titling, and it might go up and down a little bit with inspiration and expiration. And maybe a few bubbles when you first hook it up as that air is leaving the pleural cavity, but eventually you will stop seeing any bubbles in this, but you still might see the titling. This blue section is our suction control chamber, and this was also filled with sterile water to this 20 centimeter mark, and then you hook it up to suction on the wall, and we would have to titrate the amount of suction that we applied to it until we had this nice gentle rolling bubble. And it was really nice because you could walk by the room and you could hear the bubbling, and you'd be like, okay, my chest tube's working good. I can hear it's bubbling really well. When it wasn't bubbling, then you knew there was a problem. There was some kind of an air leak going on. And so you would troubleshoot it. Now, that being said, you are probably never going to see this in practice. These are no longer really being used, but I do teach about it and show it because NCLEX has not caught up with the resources that are out there right now. And so this is what you would be tested on. And so this is what I'm testing on for the exam because of preparation for NCLEX. Okay, so that's that one. And then we have a dry section wet seal. This is the one you're most likely going to see. So it has the same collection chambers for drainage that you see here. And I didn't mention in the previous one, but you're going to be putting marks on here when you're measuring I&O. So if you're in an ICU or this is new for a patient, you may be measuring that I&O every hour, but as the patient progresses and does better, you'll be doing it less often, and you'll follow your provider orders for that. But when you get ready to measure your I&O, you'll take a Sharpie and put a line across where the drainage is on this, and then you'll subtract it from the previous mark, and make sure that you date and time this and initial it when you've taken that I&O. And that way the person who comes after you has an idea of when the last time this was documented and measured. And it'll help you keep track too, if you're taking over for somebody else. So this is still the same, and you do the same for whatever type of device you have. This is your water seal chamber, this B, and again, you're going to have it 2 centimeters of water in here, and the same process. You might see titling, you might see some bubbles when it's first inserted, nothing really new there. What's different about this is the dry suction. So instead of your wet suction chamber, they have this new technology in here, and this is a dial. There's a little dial thing on the left here that you will set this at whatever suction setting the provider has asked you to have, and so from there you'll hook it to the wall, and normally you'll see 20 centimeters of suction. That's the typical order that we see. And then instead of hearing that bubbling, you're looking for this little red plunger in this E box, and you want it to be coming out to this arrow, and that tells you that you have the right amount of suction. If there is a leak of some kind, or some kind of failure in the equipment, or with something going on with your patient and you're not getting a good suction seal, then this little plunger thing is going to disappear. It'll retract back a little bit. It will not be at this mark. So you don't get to hear the bubbling anymore when you walk by the room. You actually have to come in and take a look at it, which isn't a bad thing. So this is the difference between those two, and this is the one that you're going to see the most. There is another one that's a dry suction, dry seal. That's what it says here, but it's not a dry seal. We've got water here. So I'm not sure why the manufacturer called this a dry seal, but I haven't, and this is just a different manufacturer of it. So this works the same way. And then again, this line, some kind of a measuring thing will come up when it's to suction that will come right to this little mark. Uh, so those are some ones that you might see. So this one you probably actually might see if if your hospital carries the Sahara brand of this. Questions about this? Okay. If you're in my clinical group tomorrow, you'll get to hear it again. So I just want to make sure everybody hears it who's with me. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is a Kahoot. So I told you in the course announcements to have Kahoot loaded on your computer or a secondary device if you have the ability to do that. And I recommend that you get that set up. So if you want to take a minute to go into Kahoot, I'm going to stop sharing and get my Kahoot set up. And what we're going to be doing a little activity quiz thing on is your medications for asthma. So asthma medications. So that's our topic. And not a big deal. This is all just to engage your minds, and the resources are in Blackboard for you to do this kind of on paper later if you choose to. But a lot of students find this helpful to be able to see this and talk through it and engage in the activities. So I need to stop talking because I'm not multitasking very well and get my activity going here. Almost ready. You can go ahead and make up a name for yourself if you like. Oh, I've got this annoying music. Oh well, we're going to run with it. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the code to put in. Do you all hear this music? Okay, there's your pin. You should be able to see that.
I don't hear the music, but that's okay.
Good, you're lucky. I'm going to listen to it because I don't want to slow us down here. So I'll give you all a minute to get in. Have you all used this before? Kahoot? In some of your other classes? Oh, good. Good. We're seeing more and more people use it, which is nice. We'll use this several times throughout the quarter. And just so you know, our winner of this will be allowed to turn a written assignment, not an exam, but an assignment in up to 3 days late if needed. So we'll all have to help me keep track. If you happen to be the winner and you have a code, make sure, a nickname or something that I wouldn't know who this is, make sure you email me and let me know that that was you. And hopefully I won't get 6 of them because I won't be able to prove who did it. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this started. Does anybody need more time? If you need more time, chat it in real quick. Okay, let's get started because we don't have a lot of time today together. All right, question number 1. Which drug class is albuterol? All right, so the correct answer is it is a short-acting beta-2 agonist. We had 9 people get it right. That's great. Let's see who was fastest and got it right. So Kay is in the lead, and we have Claude and CT right behind. On to our next question. And there's 12 of them, in case you didn't know. Which drug class is tiotropium or Spiriva? All right, we've got people answering. Okay, the correct answer is it is a cholinergic antagonist. So this is something you'll want to put in your memory. It looks like this was a harder one for people. And again, there's a written activity for you, an activity sheet for you in Blackboard to help you work on this when you're really ready to dive into the resources. All right, let's see how we did. All right, Kay got it right in the lead. Took a substantial lead here. Which drug class is prednisone? All right. Yes, it is a corticosteroid. This one was a little easier than the Spiriva. So nice job. Let's see where everybody landed. Kay is still in the lead. 3 in a row. Nice job. Which drug class is Atrovent or ipratropium? Okay. It is also a cholinergic antagonist. All right. So we got a few more who got that right. So good. And Kay is still in the lead. Ooh, you all are going to have a hard time catching up with Kay with a score like that. Keep trying though. Which drug class is salmeterol or Ceravent? That is a long-acting beta-2 agonist. We have 6 of you who got that right. Good. All right, up 3 places. Tasha was the highest climber this time. Congratulations, Tasha. Which drug class is budesonide or pulmicort? Corticosteroid is correct. Good job. Kay is still in the lead and has the highest answer streak of 6. Kitty's coming behind, but we've got still quite a gap there. All right. Which drug class is Zopinex? It is a short-acting beta-2 agonist. 6 of you got that. Excellent. All right. Isabel, highest answer streak of 3. Nice job. Which drug class is fluticasone? It is a corticosteroid. Very good. 8 of you got that one. Nice. All right. And we have Isabel climbing there. A streak of 4 in a row. Nice job. A fast-acting reliever used during an asthma attack or just before activity that may trigger an attack. All It's a short-acting beta-2 agonist. Good. And we've got Kay in the lead still. Tasha has a streak of 5 in a row. Congratulations. Nice job. This inhibits parasympathetic nervous system, allowing sympathetic system to dominate, and relieves and prevents asthma. And the cholinergic antagonist is the correct one with that. So that's this one you might want to spend a little time understanding if you were not the one person who got it right. All right, we've got people moving up. Tasha has 6 in a row. She's coming on pretty fast here. Nice job. This disrupts production pathways of inflammatory mediators and prevents asthma attack caused by inflammation or allergies. And that would be a corticosteroid. Still have Kay in the lead. Isabel's coming up behind, and Tasha and Rain and Bree are all have some strong scores there. Oh, let's see. Last question. Onset is slow with a long duration and is used to prevent asthma attack. Okay, that's a long-acting beta-2 agonist. Excellent. We're going to see where people landed here. Here's the podium. Tasha, 3rd place. Nice job. Isabel, 2nd place. And Kay is our leader. She won. So congratulations, Kay. Make sure you email me, but our winners need to know that you have to let me know like before your assignment is due that you're taking advantage of this pass so that I know that. And that just means before it's midnight, before it's due at whatever time it's due at midnight. Just so I'm not marking you
So
wrong.
does 3rd place get 1 day?
Sorry.
No
Nice
runner
try,
up?
though.
No runner up medals here?
No, not this time. I'll have to
Okay,
consider
fine.
it maybe for the future, but yep, so
Okay,
3
well,
days late
that's fair.
is, yeah,
Good
I
job.
know.
That
So nice job. So I
was
think I know
fun,
who it
thank
is,
you.
but please email me. So I hope this was beneficial to you. And I'm gonna close out of it because the music's driving me just a little bit crazy here. All right, and we're just about done. I'm gonna put my screen back up here in just a second just to go over just a couple last minute things. Okay. And so this is just our reminders for the week. We have your practice A retake. Now I have it due here, but I will clarify that because somewhere I need to fix a resource one way or the other. So I will find out where that needs to be fixed to make sure we get it fixed for future quarters and communicate that in an email today so that you know. Your remediation templates are due Sunday by midnight. So be sure that you do one template for each of your identified topics to review. And, you know, if there's one that's a dose calculation or if you have duplicates, it makes life really easy for me if you just put a blank one in there and put a note on there what it is. But I usually figure it out if you don't. But it does make it easier when we're counting how many I'm expecting and how many you've submitted. So make sure you get all of those in by midnight, and then try not to take a picture of each one and upload each picture separately. If you have to use a camera or your phone to take pictures of it, try to load it into one Word document so I could pull it up. Those are just some thoughtful things to do for me to help me with the grading process. And you also have your written assignment due on Sunday for respiratory disease. So if you have any questions, reach out to me about this. And then when we're looking ahead to week 4, you'll have a discussion due next week. Your ATI assignment, you've already done it in lab, your central venous access device. Just make sure you get it uploaded in both your lab course and the PN2 course. So that should not be a problem. Everybody should have that done by now. And then you'll have another written assignment. We have those every week. And then your course project reference page is due on Sunday as well. And so again, I left some instructions for you about that in the announcements this morning, and they'll be in the frequently asked questions. If you can't remember all those details, they're typed in there for you, and I send that out usually Friday afternoon. All right, so that is it for our presentation. I'm going to stop sharing and open it up if you have any questions.
You said 24 hours on the exam?
24 to 48 hours is what we are allowed to take to do everything we need to before releasing it.
Okay, cool.
It's rare that I need more than 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's hard to wait. It's painful.
Thank you.
I know that. I try to get it out as quick as I can, but I have to make,
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
the
It's
video
okay.
is, honestly, it's the videos that take the most time, having to go in and look at them. So, I'm going to take notes this quarter and send emails to students, because I had some students in the past who they weren't doing anything necessarily wrong, but the way they positioned themselves in front of their camera, they were half on the screen and half off, and it flagged the entire video. And I could tell they weren't doing anything. They just, or their camera, this is the other thing that's a problem. The camera was positioned so it only showed their eyes, but their mouth was not showing. So it cut them off right here. And so that is a sign to respondus that you might be talking to a recording or to somebody and sharing answers. So it flags the entire thing. And that
Oh
takes a lot.
no.
I know. So it takes a lot of time to go through and validate that. So
I thought they did that for.
Say that again.
I said I thought that they did that for you. But no, it just gets
They
delivered
flag
to
it
you.
for me. They
Oh, that's
flag
nice.
anything that looks suspicious, but I have to go in and look at everything that's flagged. So if it flags a bunch of stuff, it takes me longer to go through it. So I'm going to send emails out to students. I only have one class this time instead of 2. So 42 instead of 84. And so I'll take the time to make notes if it flagged a lot and let you know, so that the next time you take a test, maybe you can do things a little different.
Yeah.
To speed up the release of the exams. So, any other questions for me? Okay, know that you can always reach me by email if you have questions. Yeah, Katrina needs a nap. Yes, if you studied late, I'm sure many of you do. So depending on when you have lab, you might have time for a nap, you might not. So we'll be starting at 11 o'clock with my first group of lab students. So I will let you all go then if you don't have any questions for this. I'm going to stop recording it now.